All right, first new video I've made in probably about 4 or 5 months, something along those lines. But I figured I should put at least, I don't know, some of my older content back up on the internet. You guys don't care. You probably just found this video. You have no idea what I'm talking about. Anyway, this is my 2017 Kubota M7060. This machine has almost exactly 1,000 hours on it. Because I've been able to put a lot of time on this thing, I can give you a pretty decent review of it. I'll talk about the things I like and the things that I'm not entirely pleased with. Now, I will say, the best thing about this machine is its reliability. Yes, it was defective since new, like virtually all farm machinery is, but Kubota was actually able to fix it, and that's tremendous. So that's good. That puts them ahead of a lot of major companies. A lot of equipment, they won't work on it. I tell people, if you buy farm equipment, despite what you heard, there is zero warranty, like even brand new when you buy the thing. And what that means, yes, there is technically a warranty, but usually your dealer will just completely blow you off and just refuse to fix anything, or they charge you thousands of dollars to fix things that should be fixed under warranty. Like, for example, you buy a brand new machine, it literally doesn't work right on day one, and you have nothing but issues getting it fixed. This is how buying farm machinery usually goes, at least in my experience. The Kubota was not like this. The Kubota sustained some damage from when they assembled it incorrectly at the dealership, which I'll show you guys, but it did actually work, and when it was having problems, it was a massive undertaking. I had to get Kubota corporate involved, but they were actually able to get it fixed. And like I said, you cannot assume that when you buy farm machinery. Now, the things that I like about this are it's been incredibly reliable. Like I said, it's never, even when I'll tell you what happened with this thing. So I realized pretty soon after I started running it that no matter what I was doing with the tractor or where I was doing it, it's just perpetually dumping oil out this vent tube somewhere, that one I think, out the rear end. There's just, no matter what you're doing, there's always oil leaking out of that. And I couldn't figure out why, and it took the dealer, I think, 3 trips back before they figured it out. And what happened is when Kubota built this thing, they set the cab on improperly, and in the process crushed one of the vent lines from the transmission. So the transmission was from day one constantly overpressurized, and therefore it forced oil out the vent that should not have been leaving the vent. And I don't know, like, if a bearing is kind of like halfway cooked in there or something, and now this thing is, I think, completely out of warranty, or else really close to it, because warranties on farm equipment are very underwhelming, much like the quality of any type of farm equipment. And because my fear is that due to the defects in this thing when it was new, there's like maybe a cooked bearing or something in there, and it'll go out after 500 or 1,000 more hours. And even though it's not my fault, it's out of warranty, so nothing will happen with that. The other thing is this has made a lot of really weird noises. I think with the AC compressor or the steering pump or something, and no one ever even took a serious attempt at trying to diagnose that. But sometimes, you just stop using this thing. It's just like shaking around it. Mechanic Steve said it sounds like a pump running dry, but we don't know which pump, and obviously it never does it when the dealer's looking at it. But yeah, other problems with this I've had are, like all farm machinery, it's not set up properly when you buy it. You have to understand, like, I know it sounds like I'm being negative, but farm machinery in this country has gone downhill so fast in only 3 decades. There used to be, 10, 12 major manufacturers. Now there's 3, maybe 4. And while there used to be a menagerie of dealers for most of them in any given town, now there's only 3 or 4 dealers in an entire region. So basically the customer always loses no matter what. The problems I had with this when I bought it were one of the front wheels was loose. Pretty much as soon as I got it, I took it out to the field. I remember driving down the road, and it was the left front wheel. It's going like this. I thought it was bent and defective, like most types of farm machinery are when you purchase them. But I tightened it up and discovered it was simply loose because the problem went away. The other thing that really irritated me was that you get this really nice rubber floor mat, and someone was running the loader lines and just straight up tore this thing like that. And the dealer refused to fix it or exchange it or whatever. That one's probably kind of whiny. But like I said, expect problems when you buy any new tractor, and Kubota is not exempt from that. And here's the problem. A lot of people, when you say things like that, they're like, oh, well, you can't blame the corporate company for that. That's just a bad dealer. Yes, I can, and here's why. These companies, it's not like just any random person hangs a sign out front for a brand of machinery and orders 10 of them on the internet and they show up and then they sell them. These are like licensed dealers, whatever the manufacturers. Like I said, Kubota's not the only one. They're all like that nowadays. They have immense power, whatever it takes to figure it out. They have the power to do that, but they simply don't. And all these manufacturers are just like, oh, well, that's just a bad dealer. There's nothing we could do. Yeah, that's an excuse, and it's a really lame one at that. They absolutely could, but they don't care about you, and so they just can't be bothered to. So I tell everybody, when you buy a piece of new farm machinery, try to find in the manual. I think the manufacturers even know this is so much of a problem because it's just industry-wide. It's so much of a problem that most new pieces of farm machinery will actually have like a pre-delivery sheet. Just assume that nothing was done and hope they didn't actually damage anything, and just do all that stuff yourself before it goes out to the field. Solve all kinds of problems. So other than the original defect, which was a battle to get fixed, and 2 issues with the pre-delivery stuff, it's actually been pretty good. That's one reason, that was actually the main reason why I was not really jumping over myself, tripping over myself, whatever, to buy a newer, larger machine, because this thing, as it is now, is just reliable. It just fires up and works. And you know, farm machinery is not like buying a car. You can go out and buy the cheapest, crappiest car for sale in your country, and you have a reasonable expectation it will make it to, what, 100,000 miles with effectively nothing other than engine oil and filters, maybe a transmission oil change or 2. So the equivalent of that in farm machinery would be if the car averages, what, 35 miles an hour, something like 3,200 hours. Farm machinery does not run 3,200 hours without multiple catastrophic failures and all kinds of things breaking. That is such a laughable concept, I don't even know where to begin. 30 years ago, probably. Today, you're not going to find a tractor with 3,200 hours on it that has not had some kind of major component failure at least once. I firmly believe that. It's a ridiculous thing. It's not going to happen. So this is one reason why I usually make it a point to buy farm machinery new when I can, and that's one reason why I don't really want to get rid of this, because it just works. Having a piece of farm machinery of any type where you have, as much as you can with any kind of farm machinery, a reasonable expectation that you can just turn the key and it'll start and nothing bad will happen while you run it for 12 hours straight. You really can't put a price on that, and that was the single biggest reason why I don't really want to trade this thing in. And that's the thing with the Kubota. Once you fix all the pre-delivery mistakes they make and whatever initial assembly problems it has, that's just how their equipment is. I think in other countries, that's probably how it is from, you know, from the word go, or whatever the weird saying is that boomers use. So that is what I like about this. The best thing about it is the engine. It's very fuel efficient. It just plain and simple works great. When I bought this thing, I got the 12-speed model, and I don't think, like, if I ran Kubota, we wouldn't even sell the 8-speed model. If you're gonna buy one of these, just buy the 12-speed. It costs about $2,000 more, or $1,500 more when I bought mine, and you have an overdrive gear plus an extra gear in the transmission, so this thing tops out at 24.5 miles an hour, 24.3 or something, which is pretty sweet driving field to field. Although, like I said, it's only 70 horsepower, so if you're pulling a 6,000-pound round baler, unless it's perfectly level ground, you will not get to use the overdrive gear, but it is there for the times when you can use it, and that's pretty sweet. You get an upgraded hydraulic pump, larger lift cylinders on the 3-point. Other problems with these, the lighting setup is abysmal. I mean, it's really, really bad. I remember one night I was raking hay with this thing, and the light disperses completely. We're back. I forgot how bad GoPro batteries are, so I had to plug this into this deal here. Yeah, right, so the lighting on this is hilariously bad. The headlights are fine, so when you're driving through a field, you see, I'll tell you what you see, the lights that used to go up top, and I'm not exaggerating at all, they disperse basically 100% of their light about this far ahead of the tractor. So I remember trying to rake hay with this at night, and you literally can't find huge windrows with it any further than this far ahead of the machine. The headlights, however, are fine, but they're these two beady little dots like that you see going all the way down the field, and then there's this huge array of light that ends right here. That's what it looks like when you drive this thing at night, as is. 0 out of 5 stars on the lighting. However, to be fair, Kubota has finally done something about that. I believe I saw a video where they were showing off the M470 or 71 or whatever they call the new version of this, and it did look like it has LED lights up here, which is good because I think they finally realized that was really a problem. Yeah, the lighting is definitely bad. Talked about the engine, how it's great. The 3-point is, where's my light? Here. The 3-point is one of two things that they just completely botched on the entire tractor. I want to show you guys something. See this bracket? See how those holes are pretty small? Where's one of my top link pins? Okay, this is a category 1 top link pin. I'm going to show you, there's no trick photography. It fits in here. This is the biggest pin you could fit in. What are we talking, like a 1/16 of an inch of slop or something tops? This is a 70 horsepower tractor with a category 1 3-point hitch. This is my Polaris 250, which produces like 29 PTO horsepower. And as you can see, actually you can't, I gotta get the light. I'm gonna do this all in one take so people don't accuse me of ridiculous things. As you can see, this 29 horsepower Russian tractor, you see that? You see that play? It uses the larger pin than the 70 horsepower Kubota. That is right. You heard me correctly. This pin fits in this. It is too small to fit on the back of this. The bottom two are fine. The bottom two use these nice, you know, pretty sturdy, pretty adequate, basically standard, I would say, category 2 lower link things. To put it gently, if you have any intention of plowing or using demanding, aggressive 3-point hitch stuff, this is not the tractor for you. I really like the tractor, but I'm just glad that that never broke, quite frankly, because that was one of my concerns owning this. The other thing that I've been less than thrilled about is the sheer volume of rust on a lot of the hardware. I mean, look at this. And the really weird thing is, yeah, that's a lot of rust there, but you look down here and it's generally not like that. Whatever finish they put on this stuff here is fine. Whatever they put on the cab hardware is terrible. Like I said, it's the standards that farm machinery is built to would never fly, and even the absolute dead last in terms of quality in the automotive world. It's just, there's no point getting mad about it. There's no point trying to find a brand that doesn't have problems like that, because they all do. It's just the way that it is. That's what I've learned. Okay, what else do I like about this? Right, the front end is pretty awesome. Mine is obviously a 4-wheel drive because we push almost 100 inches of yearly precipitation where we live, and there are times when literally I cannot get out of the driveway without this. So the 4x4 axle is really legit. I've never had any problems with it. One downside to Kubota stuff, at least this model, and I think a lot of their others, is they put these steering components on the front of the axle. So if you're ever driving along brush hogging and you hit a stump or something, it's going to damage all this. Even a lot of the crappiest companies out there like Mahindra have figured out a way to successfully put this behind the axle. But Kubota has a laundry list of reasons why that's just not a good idea, even though it works just fine for everybody else, and they adamantly refuse to change it, and this is how they've built stuff for who knows how many decades. It's just one of their quirks. I don't understand it either. We have that. One thing that's fine but could always stand to be improved is the way that you clean out the debris shields. Like, I'm a hay farmer, which is kind of a dusty occupation. It is a chore to pull those things out. Like this one, you have to kind of wiggle down like such and out, and then this pops off to the side, and then this comes out and you can fit in there. It's kind of cramped. You know, it's a little thing. I'm sure they're all like that, but if there was an easier, less like afterthought way to do that, that would be preferred. That battery, so I'm told, will last like a decade or more, and you can't, well, look at this paint fade. Are you guys seeing this? it's just farm equipment, you know? It's like the rust. That's just how it is. Anyway, moving forwards. So one thing I love about the tractor is that it has 540 economy PTO. Okay, the camera is overheating and also simultaneously somehow running out of battery even while it's attached to this, which has all 4 bars, because nothing works right, and why should a simple video camera be any different whatsoever? So when I bought this thing, it had the world's chintziest, crappiest toolbox you've ever seen, which hung down right here, and you couldn't even open it all the way because the top of it would hit this loader frame. By the way, they did an excellent job on this loader. I love this thing. Look at how beautiful this is. This is what, 5/8 steel. It's ridiculously heavy duty. You know, the ends of the loader deal here are forged. You know, these chunks. It's beautifully, beautifully made. Now, okay, I know this is getting super off topic, but as a former full-time welder, I can tell you that this is superb craftsmanship on this loader. The loader is up there with the engine. It's probably one of the nicest things on the entire tractor. They did an excellent job. But anyway, yeah, world's tiniest, crappiest toolbox down there. And I took it off and fabric cobbled an ammo can holder on the other side of the tractor. Best thing I ever did. Now this cab is tiny. It is very small. The only dimension it's large in is height. See how tall that is? Yet there's pretty much no arm room, nowhere to put another person, and nowhere to put even the simplest of things. I don't know, like, I can't be the only person in the world who feels this way. I do not understand how there are people who will go and farm for an entire week with nothing but like what's in their pockets pretty much. Machinery breaks down every single day. I don't even remember the last time I left my house to go do field work and came back with something that wasn't broken or needing service or, you know, adjustment of some type. It doesn't happen. As we've discussed, the standards farm machinery is built to is so abysmally low. Literally nothing sees any maintenance after the day it's sold. It's just everything is always broken. So you need a lot of stuff. I roll around with a full set of sockets. I got a CB radio so I can talk to people who I'm loading hay to, moisture meter for the hay, Bluetooth headset, first aid kit, seat cushion, receipt book for when I sell hay. And there is no room for anything in this tractor. What I used to do is I have about a 6-foot length of chain for picking stuff up with the loader that goes here. And even with this chain curled up here, like, you can't really put your foot anywhere. You can't put your foot below the arc of this clutch with even the tiniest piece of chain. And then you got like a water bottle or lunch or something. I used to have a backpack in that corner over there. And so like it would be falling over the pedals. Well, you can't even really find a place to put your feet down here with a chain, and anything you set over here slams into the window or rolls out. Let me show you your options for storage space in this tractor. There used to be a cup holder there. I don't know why it's anchored in 4 places. That is weird. I will concede that. There's that cup holder, and then whatever the heck these 3 little microscopic things are over here. That's what you got. There is no room to put anything. I don't know, like if I was gonna design a tractor, man, it's sweltering in here while I'm ranting. If I was gonna design a tractor, I would make it about 2 feet longer with a fuel tank twice the size of whatever this thing has, and have a storage space in there. Have half the storage space be like a truck toolbox and the other half like a flip up plastic lined lid where you could put like, you know, a sweatshirt and a sandwich. You know, just whatever, stuff like that, because there is nowhere to put anything in this tractor. Another minor thing, they come with a radio that also sucks. The sound quality is abysmal. It has no Bluetooth or anything. And so I replaced it with this, which is a cheap Sony for like 80 bucks, new on Amazon or whatever. And I love it. The only problem is there's no live wire. It's not like a car, guys. There's not even a live wire that runs like from the battery to the radio. So every single time I start this tractor in the morning, I have to reconnect my Bluetooth to it. I know, first world problems, but it's one of the little things that you don't appreciate how good the automotive industry has down and how far behind the entire agricultural equipment world is until you actually start farming. Another thing, standard PTO control here. There's no 540 button in this tractor. Now this is a bad thing, but it does lead to a good thing. usually on most electronically controlled tractors like this, you'll have your PTO on and off, and then there'll be a little switch. You'll go like maybe here, and you press it, and it sets the engine RPMs to whatever they have to be, so your PTO is spinning at 540 RPMs, you know, or 1,000 if it's a larger machine. This does not have that. Tractors have to be electronically controlled. If they have to be electronically controlled, why on earth doesn't it have that one little creature comfort button? It's got other weird creature comforts, like whatever this is. You know, I'd rather not have this thing that fits 4 fingers and have a, you know, 50-cent Chinese switch over there. Another thing that sucks is the parking brake. The way this works is pretty standard, which is good, but there's not like a lever you pull up or something. What you do is you wedge that gear shift into the park section, and this does not work very well. Mine used to pop out a gear every like 50 hours or something, which is literally an accident waiting to happen. And it's one of those things like, you know, again, whatever the cheapest, crappiest car is that you can buy today, you put that thing in park and it stays in park. Farm machinery, just they can't figure it out somehow for no reason. This is another example of that. Now, I complained about it to the dealer, and they did somehow adjust it. I still don't know what they did, but it was actually almost too hard to put it in park after that point, but to their credit, it never popped out again. The system sucks. It's so bad that even Kubota said, yeah, we're not going to do that anymore, and on their newer version of the tractor, they went back to this regular handheld thing that you just pull up. I got nothing else to say, but I will shift gears again, pun intended, to the PTO thing. This tractor is about as simple as it gets in terms of something that has to be electronically controlled. Like even the 540 to 540 economy PTO lever, it's on the back of the tractor. You have to exit the cab to go and adjust it. That is kind of a downside, but my point is it's not electronic. That's one less electronic thing. The brakes, I don't think there's really much electronic in that. I mean, there's just, there could be a lot more electronic controls and such in here that it has that aren't here. I know, I was just complaining it doesn't have a 540 button. I'd rather have that than this weird electronic governor, which is that top button that does something that I don't even know what. I just leave it plugged in because it bogs down a little less. I have no idea what that thing does. Yeah, other things here, two levers here. We got our throttle and the high-low range. I'll start with the throttle because that's the good one. It is awesome. It's nice when you're cruising down the road or through the field. You just set your arm on the armrest, and it's a really short deal to adjust this up or down as the need might be. It's a little thing, but it's nice not to have to go up here and go, although that is a lot more fun. It's little creature comforts like this, which are good. I love the way they did the throttle in this. However, one downside is this lever. Right now it is in its low range. It goes forward more because there's also an optional creeper gear, which I don't have, but this is about where the high is, but it's not going into high. It's going most of the way into high, and I can tell the difference. In fact, you know what? I'm going to show you guys this. Put this in gear. Right, this camera just randomly turned off for no reason while I was in the middle of ranting, so I have no idea what that got or didn't. Yeah, right, so throttle lever, great position because your hand is naturally here. It's a really short throw over. One of the biggest problems with this tractor is this high-low lever. I demonstrated it. I couldn't even get this into high without starting the machine and letting it spin disengaged for a few seconds and then stopping, waiting like 10 seconds and moving this. Now, as you can see, this lever, if you are like this and you hit a bump, you will smash the daylights out of your hand on this lever. So not only does it not shift properly, it's actually in a pretty dangerous position. Like this will, not quite because it's got a rounded edge, but this will almost take off skin when you're cruising. Look, even just doing it a little bit, I contacted my my finger here. It's in a really bad spot. You know, that's the weird thing about this tractor. On one hand, you've got an excellent engine that's reliable as a sledgehammer and uses an almost negligible amount of fuel. And then you look somewhere else and you have a toolbox that doesn't open all the way without hitting something, and a high-low lever that can damage your hand. I mean, it's just the simplest, weirdest things. And that's not even the worst part of this. The worst part of this is this. It rattles a lot. I actually used to do this deal where I took this bungee cord and like hooked it to this, but as you can see, the tension's never really quite right. And then if I shift it, I have to remember to unhook it, and it's a pain. This rattles non-stop. There's nothing you can do to shut it up. It's terribly designed. It's a little thing. I know it's just a lever, but it's a lever that they completely botched. Now for the good. When you step on the brakes, it engages the four-wheel drive, thereby giving you four-wheel braking. For farm equipment, having brakes on four wheels is beyond incredibly advanced, and it actually works really well. It's one of my favorite things about the tractor. It's a little thing, but it stops great. And when you spend a lot of time on the road driving between field and field, that's a pretty good thing. Reliable, it just works. Talked about that. The steering is very light. You can steer this thing with a finger. However, the steering lacks when there's a lot of weight on the front end. If you pick up a pallet or something with this, and by the way, this will pick up about a ton safely. I think I've picked up like 2,400 pounds off a D-ring like that that's not cantilevered out, but that's about it. When you have any real amount of weight on the front of this thing, the steering really lacks. You can turn it up to like 1,800 RPMs, engine RPMs, and that helps, but it is still underpowered. I would wish it, however the steering setup is on this, they would really increase it, because when you're loading big bales of hay, it's fine, but really anything over that, it's like you're cranking on that wheel pretty hard. The shuttle shift is pretty nice. That's one reason why I bought a Kubota. Having a forward and reverse shuttle shift is a pretty advanced component, and when you figure the beyond abysmal levels of quality that farm machinery is built to, there's a lot that can go wrong, and Kubota is one of the only companies that can make a forward and reverse shuttle shift that just works. It doesn't have constant problems. It's actually never had any problems. It does a great job, and I like it. Again, I like that it's simple, but if it has to be somewhat electronically controlled, having that dampener there would be nice, because sometimes the forward reverse shuttle shifts can be a little abrupt. The wet clutch. It's a wet clutch tractor, so the clutch spins in a bath of oil, lasts for a very long time. It's great for hay production, like when you're doing loader work and loading hay. I like that. Very fuel efficient. Trab's mission. There's not supposed to be a B in that, but whatever. 2-speed PTO, talked about that. Loader talked about that. One of the other things, this is a very common machine. Now, the way that all farm machinery, at least in this country, is sold is it's made to be as cheap as possible, and the dealer will provide the absolute minimum amount of service that they can get away with legally after the sale. I tell people, if you have a machine like this, and let's say you buy it brand new, and after 2 weeks the hydraulic hose blew, don't even bother with the warranty. Just go straight to the hydraulic hose shop, spend the 50 bucks, and have them make you a new one. If you do have a real problem, like it's 2 weeks old and it drops a valve and destroys the engine, Kubota stuff's really not known for that sort of thing, but let's be realistic. It's mechanical stuff, it happens. Make your first call to the dealership and give them a chance. Expect nothing. Expect that your second phone call will be to a lawyer. It's just the way it goes. You're probably gonna have to get a lawyer involved. You'll probably have to get corporate involved. And this is for simple things. This is like you set the cab on the tractor wrong, and so the transmission doesn't vent. Didn't have to use a lawyer for that, but that was the next step. I did have to deal with corporate quite a bit to get them to strong arm the local dealer into half-assly fixing it once, and then more or less properly fixing it the second time, and it's been good ever since. It's just the way it goes. So where am I going with this? If you want to keep a machine long-term, you need to find a pretty common machine. And this tractor, I really think that these will be running in 30 to 50 years. Yes, there are problems, but it's still basically the highest quality piece of farm machinery that you can get in this size today. And the other thing is, this series of tractor, the 7060, I think they've made for 6-7 years at this point. And it's basically a 7040, except with tier 4 emission stuff on it. And the 7040 goes back like 10 to 15 years, and Kubota sells them all over the planet. So my point is, and you run it for 30 years and the engine control module dies and it won't start and you have to find a new one. You will probably be able to do that, because like I said, they made basically this tractor for at least 20 years, give or take, and sold it on like 6 continents. Someone is going to be making stuff like electronic parts for that and gears for the transmission and that sort of thing. And so it's not going to be that big a deal. Now, if you buy an off-brand tractor that's from like one of the smaller companies in Korea or India, where they change models constantly and they don't really test things. So like the one this year is different than the one last year, and there's 3 different part numbers for it. You're gonna have a really bad time. You probably just won't be able to find certain parts like the examples I gave. So I tell people, whatever you're brand loyal to, get something that is common. And this is a minimally electronic tractor, all things considered, and they have made a lot of these. So as far as long-term stuff goes, I think this is about as good as it's going to get. But yeah, resale value is good, fuel economy is good, very reliable. You know, okay, so here's one thing I don't like about it. Not a good tillage tractor. Kubotas, I don't think they're really as lightweight as everybody says they are. But this doesn't have the weight nor the power to pull even an 8-foot tillage disc. I know it's a tillage disc. If you get one of those little wimpy Tractor Supply type tandem discs, it'll probably be okay with that, but it's also not going to accomplish very much actual work unless you go over a patch of ground like 30 times with it. It's too small and too light for most types of tillage work. And I've seen videos of people pulling plows and such with these, and that shuttle shift transmission is really screaming when that's going on. It's just not a tillage work kind of tractor. That is a downside. Sorry, tractor. But other than that, it's a great machine. I love this thing. It is reliable, it is efficient, it just plain works, and I honestly think in the 70 horsepower class of equipment that's available in North America, this is as good as it gets. The bones of it are rock solid. A few little quirks, yeah, just expect the dealer to completely botch the setup, I get all that, but it just works. It's pretty comfortable. The AC could be a lot more powerful, especially in a southern climate like Texas, but still, it's pretty comfortable. It's just great, you know, especially that beautiful loader. And this class of tractor, it's pretty awesome. I love it. Yeah, there's a lot of things that could be upgraded, like the finish, but you know, overall, Kubota's done a really good job on it. And as far as farm machinery goes, it's as good as it gets. So I don't regret buying it at all. I don't think there's really anything else in this class I would have bought, but I would have bought in a bigger class. So whatever the case, thanks for watching. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe for more.